What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Late Night Keefy, here at GhostCultMag.com. I am back with another live stream, another show. I try to do a few of these a week. We do the main show every Thursday, and I'm trying to be present and build a real engaged community here at Ghost Cult Online. I'm just making sure everybody is catching up on the tick of the talk and the Instagram. The best place to watch this, though, is YouTube. You can give us super chats, super likes, get your comments bumped up. Twitch, Facebook, Instagram. I'm also hanging out on TikTok, of course. I like to keep the conversation going. This is going to be a deep dive review of the brand new Lamb of God album, Into Oblivion, which comes out this week on Friday via Epic Records. It's hard to keep track of who's on what record. Brooklyn Miss is here. What is up? Good to see you too. Good to see you too. So much is going on. I got engaged to get married. I'm getting married this summer. I got some travel coming up. I'm going out to cover the Mojave Experience Festival, which we are sponsors of, the inaugural and awesome Joshua Tree Festival. I've never been there. It's going to be a sick time. And I'm going out there with my buddy and Ghost Cult collaborator, Wayne Edwards. Excuse me. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind. I know a lot of people are on the struggle bus. I hope everybody is okay with everything going on in the world, but I'm hoping some metal life and some metal reviews will bring the blood flowing and get you pumped up and amped up. Boy, if this Lamb of God record doesn't piss you the fuck off, I don't know what will. Get motivated. But anyway, let's get into it. First, the minutiae. Lamb of God's new album is coming out this week. I'm really stoked. Again, we've been thinking about how to build a better community here, not just our regulars and everydayers like Brooklyn Miss and a bunch of others, but just how to give value, the most value possible. A lot of people, I feel like there's so much misinformation and disinformation and haters and haterade on Reddit and the internet. And it's like, okay, a lot of people are commenting on a record they haven't heard yet. Charlie Does Energy is here. George is here. Dirty Dan is here. Beerman 353 is also here. The Life Atlas is here. I'm just appreciative of anybody paying attention this late at night. Thanks for being here. So Lamb of God new record. Before that, this week on YouTube and our podcast, I got to check a huge one off the bucket list. I got to interview Sebastian Bach. You know him best formerly of Skid Row, of course, from his long solo career, Gilmore Girls, Phantom of the Opera. We talked a lot about his most recent album, The Child Within the Man, as well as his upcoming headline tour, which we're hoping to go cover. And it was really awesome. I know a lot of people have been asking very antagonistic questions to Baz, and I tried not to. I'm not here just to get clicks. Of course, clicks help us, like everybody else. We're in this business to be in business and be followed and get attention. But also sometimes it doesn't feel good to get negative attention. I just don't, I don't see the point. But I'd rather go viral for a good thing than a bad thing. But anyway, that's me and probably nobody else in the business. But also tomorrow on YouTube, we'll be premiering our new interview with Todd Severin. You may know him as the founder and leader of Ripple Music, the great stoner metal, psychedelic rock, stoner doom label. They recently celebrated 15th anniversary show. I got to interview Todd. I went to the show. It was a tremendous, tremendous chat with Todd. He is one of the bright lights of the music community and the metal community. And he was a guy who never thought he would own a label. I was a guy who never thought I would own a music website. I thought I would always work for someone else at a magazine, and I just ended up being here, and I'm glad I'm here with you. Here's our tip menu. Obviously not our everydayers, but if you're new here and you want to help keep the lights on, we appreciate tips. If you're feeling tipsy, we do make money from advertising. Not a lot, some. We're working on changing that, but almost 14 years in business, and being a DIY music website's a lot like being in a DIY band. So I'm just going to drop the places to tip in the menu, in the comments section. All right, there's our Cash App in case you want to check it out. Lamb of God, so much to unpack. I have to say I'm always, because I worked in the music industry for such a long time, and I've advised and coached bands on PR and music marketing and release schedules. This may be of interest to anybody out there with a band. This is a very long lead up to this. Lamb of God has been like eking out singles every few months with a little more regularity the last few, but they didn't really announce this record until January. But they had put out a couple of singles already that were like, maybe a new record is coming. That's what we suspected. So Ken Kaltenbach is here. What up, Ken? My second favorite Ken in the world. Mike Matus is here. Boy Online is here. Lao Stony B. Good to see everybody. So Lamb of God, they've been really like teasing this record out for a long time. I thought it was a pretty clever schedule. The majority of the record industry right now is like announce an album, put it out next month, put it out in 2 months. That's usually 2 to 3 months is the standard PR campaign. 2 to 3 months is a lot of time to kind of seed and drop videos and singles and stoke those pre-release links and things like that and get people to pre-save and pre-order. But, Lamb of God knows they have a tremendous audience, having been a band for 30 years, over 30 years as a band, previously Burn the Priest. Before that, we'll talk about that. Good to see you, Ken. Devil Horns right back to you, pal. And, Lamb of God is one of the leading bands in metal. I haven't met anybody that doesn't like them. Most people enjoy them, at least live. Randy's vocals may not be for everybody, but in terms of that, like, borderline between brutal death metal and thrash, they're right there, right? Randy has also really been stretching out as a vocalist the last few years, and especially the last few albums. So I think we are fairly stoked on that. Here is just hit send on the comment with our links to support us. But again, I'm just glad to be here. I'm glad you're here. So, Lamb of God, check this amazing photo out from our own Randall Hicks at Riot Fest 24. And kind of looks like Randy's crotch is ripping open or something. But what an incredible band they have put on. Really, they are one of the leading bands of metal. Not quite full-on arena headliner, but maybe after this record they just might be. They do have their own crews. We talk about all those things. The band has been around, again, 26 years as Lamb of God, 30 years total from the time they were Burn the Priest. And just what a tremendous band. And I feel lucky to be in the time of Lamb of God. Oh no, that's the wrong slide. Oh well. Leftover from the Megadeth review. Lamb of God by the numbers, not Megadeth by the numbers. Megadeth review was a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. Then we did Rob Zombie a few weeks ago, and now Lamb of God. My bad. So Lamb of God by the numbers. I love doing this little breakdown. Founded in 94 as Burn the Priest. Changed the name. They were really actually more picked on for Lamb of God than Burn the Priest. They just didn't want to be considered like a satanic band. So they didn't want to have people calling them satanic, which I kind of get. 11 albums, 9 as Lamb of God, 2 as Burn the Priest, 1 live album, Philadelphia, also a DVD, and 2 EPs. Only 1.2 million in sales so far. And I was really surprised at this because they do have a few gold albums. I believe Wrath is gold. And a few others are approaching gold, or maybe the numbers and the goalposts have moved. And that only matters to record label people and publicists. Bands don't really care about this thing, but it really shows you that Lamb of God came along at the dawn of streaming, of kind of pirate stuff, like LimeWire and BearShare and Pirate Bay. And then just as they were becoming a big band like Wrath, Spotify came along. So like they really had... they have a lot of plays, but maybe not a lot of sales. It's great to see a lot of Lamb of God merch, and Lamb of God has, really figured out how to, be a successful touring band, obviously without selling millions and millions of records, but hey, nothing to sneeze at, 1.2 million records. 5 Grammy nominations, but never won. But they are in the Decibel Hall of Fame for Ashes of the Wake. Widely considered one of their best records. They have several records that I would consider classics of metal: Ashes of the Wake, As the Palaces Burn, Wrath, Resolution. These are all amazing records, and they've been very consistent the whole way. Really never made a bad record, in my personal opinion. Definitely one of the leaders of the new wave of American metal, or modern metal, basically the last 25 years. Kind of the heavier metalcore, the resurgence of thrash and hardcore thrash bands, like hybrid hardcore and thrash bands, and technical metal inspired by obviously the Big Four and Pantera. Also, the personnel of the band has been largely unchanged, except, as we know, on the drums. John Campbell is the lone founding member still in the band. Mark Morton found the band, left, came back. He's been there ever since. D. Randall Bly, D. Public Enemy #1. If I was Randall Bly, I'd just go around introducing myself as D. Public Enemy #1. 5-0 said freeze, and I got none. D. Randall Bly, Randy Bly, on vocals for the last 31 years. Willie Adler came in '99 as they changed over to Lamb of God. And Art Cruz, who replaced Mark Morton on drums. Mark had a fallout with the band. Chris Adler, had a fallout with the band. And Art has been in ever since. Art, we love him. He was originally in Winds of Plague and Prong, and just a dude we love here at Ghost Cult. He's really cool. I met him. I just bumped into him in Anaheim around the NAMM show when I was down there, and just a treasure. That guy is a treasure and a phenomenal drummer. So let's get into Oblivion, and let's talk about the record track by track. I have many notes to share, and I'm really stoked. Just a couple of notes. This is their 4th record, produced by Josh Wilbur, mixed by Josh, engineered by Josh and Kyle McCauley, who's Josh's go-to engineer. Keys, programming, and sound design on the record by Josh Wilbur and Willie Adler, who's taking a more, bigger role in that, aspect of the band. Recorded at Snake Alley Sound in Richmond. Drums recorded at the Bakery in Richmond. And all the vocals were recorded at Total Access Recording in Redondo Beach, California. No doubt known for their surfing, because Randy is a huge surf nut, and it's probably very good for him, a good outlet for him. And a super interesting kind of futuristic artwork is by Ken Adams. And there are versions of this, I'll talk about it later, but there are versions of this thing where the artwork, you really understand the day glow artwork of everything. I'm pretty stoked about it. So let us get into the track by track. Into Oblivion is the first and title track. It is an absolute ass beater in the tradition of all great Lamb of God opening songs. Just unbelievable grooves, tremendous guitar riffs, Randy just on fire. No surprise why this is the title track. The second track is Parasocial Christ, and I think the singles are pretty heavy front-loaded, so we've heard maybe a third of the album already, closer to 40% of the album with the existing singles. Let's see, there'll probably be a new single this weekend, I suspect, or a video for a single, but Parasocial Christ is just brutal. Really just fast Lamb of God, almost kind of Slayery. I do want to say these are some of the best lyrics Randy has ever had, and for the press, we were given the lyrics along with the album stream, so I got to listen multiple times to the record the last few weeks, as well as read along the lyrics, which are extremely pointed and political. And I know Randy was quoted today by probably Blabbermouth and everybody else saying, if you want me to stop being political, F you. So, fuck you. So, there you have it. Randy has been a political activist and has been a political lyricist his entire career, and why would he stop now? some of their stuff is interpersonal, but most of it is, you know, very activated left-wing politics. And there's nothing wrong with that in my eyes. That might offend some people who just want to lift weights, crush peebs, and listen to Lamb of God and not have them be yelled at. But this is where Randy is at. Parasocial Christ, great track. The next track is Sepsis. And this is the first track that's like one of the few curveballs of the record, because it's kind of a grindy, slow, snaking riff. There's a tremendous, this is probably the best sounding bass the band has ever had. John Campbell's bass is just absolutely popping through, kind of reminding me of David Ellefson in Megadeth, because it's not too bright, but it's really aggressive. The picking is really accentuated and supports the guitars so well. And then it has a fast ending. So it kind of reminded me of an Anthrax song, like 2000s John Bush Anthrax, where they would have kind of like a mid-tempo song and then zip it to the end, you know, fast forward the tape. So yeah, thanks to everybody who is watching on YouTube and the Gram and TikTok. Appreciate you. So yeah, Parasocial Christ, definitely one of the apps. Parasocial Christ rules. Sepsis, one of the best tracks. Just unbelievable track all the way through. The Killing Floor is the first kind of new track we hadn't heard yet. And this one is a bit of a surprise. It's got kind of a tremolo picked riff that's almost black metal, or kind of when Pantera was incorporating more black metal in the Great Southern Trendkill to kind of mirror where Phil was going vocally, with a lot of like fast tremolo picking and just kind of like very angular, almost Dillinger Escape Plan riff. And then just again, just absolute kicking ass. Probably the longest song on the record at just 4:16. The next track's 4:17. You know, Killing Floor, great song. Wouldn't be surprised if it was a single. The next track on the album is probably another curveball for most, El Vacío, which seems to be about Mexican drug cartels in America. But I could be just reading across the surface of that one. But it's here's Randy singing, and we've gotten a lot of melodic singing from Randy for the first time in the last few years. Started with the EP, The Duke, when he's like, I've never done a melodic vocal before, and I just wanted to give it a try. We usually would have a guest who would do those kind of vocals, like a Chino Moreno, and I wanted to see if I could just try to add one more tool to my toolbox, and he did, man. So I would say this track kind of reminds me of, what is the track on the last Gojira record? The Chant, that's kind of starts very chill with beautiful melodic guitars, picked guitars and clean stuff, and then kind of gets metal-y toward the end. But a beautiful song, and again, very surprising and great performance by Randy on the lead vocals. Another banger follows this one, St. Catherine's Wheel. Randy is very rarely this direct. He's usually very not obtuse on purpose or flowery, but he's just usually good with metaphors and things. But also when he wants you to get punched in the face with his words and vocals, he punches you in the face. He does not miss. So St. Catherine's Wheel, best performance vocally on the record by Randy, where he kind of call and responses himself in the same verse. I can't describe it any differently. You'll have to hear the track, but it's kind of like a shouty part and a scream, a high, like shrieking scream, kind of like Trevor from the Black Dahlia Murder used to do. Phenomenal song, and just a really killer song. He's kind of preaching the lyrics at you. He really wants you to get it. And the song's just a beater. The most recent single is the next track, and that is Blunt Force Blues. Didn't grab me immediately. Still a great track, just kind of slow to get into for me for whatever reason, but a lot of people seem to dig it. Very similar to Trivium or Machine Head, like shredding power groove thrash metal from the early 2000s. And again, those bands were kind of all circling each other. Trivium is on the same level as Lamb of God, just about. Machine Head is too, although they're kind of 10 years earlier. So excellent track, or very good, if not great. Bully is the next one, and this one Definitely the best lyrics, and again, very pointed political lyrics. You will either love them or you won't. They will either speak to you or they will offend you. Super metallic hardcore, like a constant beatdown song, if such a thing. Not like a breakdown the whole song, but a constant beat, like an ass beater, you know? You could pit the whole time for this song. Not quite a circle pit, but like a real big, punchy hardcore pit. And a lot of chugging riffs that kind of reminded me of New American Gospel or As the Palaces Burn. And I know that Mark Morton gave an interview. I try not to read too many other interviews. I was still hoping to get an interview with the band this go around. I've interviewed them three times, and Mark for his solo record. And Mark had said in an interview I caught a glimpse of where he said that he was revisiting stuff that got him originally into the Lamb of God, kind of, you know, where he was going as a songwriter on New American Gospel and As the Palaces Burn and, Ashes of the Wake. So you hear a lot of things in this record, not quite like a purposeful callback, but you hear stuff that's like, oh, that's kind of like a signature Lamb of God riff, isn't it? And it's fucking cool. I think it's cool. The next track is 1,000 Years. And again, more singing by Randy, another slinky kind of arpeggiated slow riff that later picks up. Really angry, furious song. And again, I'm just really so pleased this punch that Randy is just bringing it at every level of his artistry, you know? So good. And then finally, the album closes with Devise Destroy, which again is just, it goes so hard. I was not ready. It will take your breath away. It's so groovy and hard and fresh. Everything they do, it doesn't sound like anyone else doing what they do, but it kind of is intrinsically them all the time. They sound like you know who they are. They're not trying to fool anybody. They're not trying to fool themselves. They know what band they showed up to be in. A lot of bands will kind of lose the story and, forget who they are when they go to make a new record. I'm going to quickly read. You can go to GhostCultMag.com right now. It's also a link in the description. I'll also link it here. You can go read our new review by our writer in the UK, Gary Alcock, guys. Gem. There was a couple of really good ones here. I know there was some brouhaha about the logo and, maybe they would the band was changing, but there's a couple of great quotes here. For all the exploration and progression, this band, again, never loses sight of what they are. If you want your face removed by molten riffs and scouring pad vocals, you are still very much in the right place. And then at the end of the close of the review, he writes, aggressive and antagonistic. If you thought the band had possibly stalled over the last couple of albums, then Into Oblivion sets things straight in no uncertain terms. So, that is a ringing endorsement of the new Lamb of God record. Gary gave it a 9. I have to agree, to me, it's a 9 out of 10. Maybe it's not groundbreaking, but it's certainly an immense record. Certainly one of the most complete records to come out this year so far. There's the trash getting picked up in the alley behind my house. So that's my signal to go. Just a couple of quick little extra bits. Lamb of God's playing a surprise show in Philadelphia this weekend. They are quickly selling out of all the pre-orders. You can check that out at the link in our description. And that is our review of Lamb of God Into Oblivion. Drop us a comment if you're watching this on the rebroadcast or on the channel or any of our channels or on the podcast, and tell us what you want me to review next. We get albums in advance. Not everybody does. We have been in the music business. I've been in the music business almost 20 years, and Ghost Cult has been around 14. So I'll be back at least one more time this week on Thursday for our weekly show. But thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. If you're new here, like and subscribe. I'm Keefy from Ghost Cult. There's no fancy ending today. I'm just out. Peace and good night.